So the original 91 D45s were built between 1933 and 1942. I mean, we're getting close to 100 years from when the first D45 was introduced. To me, Project 91 is recreating 91 of the greatest guitars ever built. Going about it, you know, we have limited information on a lot of these guitars, and so we're trying to do our best to replicate how we think they would have been built back in the 1930s, early 1940s. I mean, if you try to get one of these guitars now, they're insanely expensive. So, I mean, these are going to be pricey guitars, but they're going to be a lot less than an original pre-war D45.
I think the genesis of Project 91 starts a few, maybe many years ago. We did an OM45 Deluxe from 1930. That guitar was bought for our museum. And we actually did a small run of those, because that was a very limited run. That gave us an idea of, hey, you know, someday it would be really cool to do this with the 45s.
The D45 represents the absolute top of the line for Martin guitars. The amount of work, the amount of detail in laying not only the top, sides, back, neck, headstock, but also around the edges of the neck as well as the end piece. A tremendous amount of detail work, and it just sets them apart from all the other instruments.
The style 45 goes back to, I believe, 1902, and it was a kind of a custom order. We had been making 42 style guitars, small, right? The Dreadnought did not exist in 1902, but people wanted fancy guitars, and so we would put all the pearl on the front. And I believe the first couple 45 style guitars were basically modified style 42 guitars, where we put the pearl along the sides and the back and around the heel, the end piece and the heel. And people were like, oh, that's really attractive. The 45 has always been the culmination of our best work. And yes, you know, during my career, we've done D50s, D100s, D200s, but there's something about the 45, the fact that we made the 91 during what people considered one of our golden eras. I would like to say today is another one.
There was a certain magic about guitars that were built in this building at North Street here. Maybe the workers weren't even aware of it, but they were at the top of their game, just building incredible instruments.
In 1933, the first D45 was built for Gene Autry. And, I mean, at that point, he was pretty much, you know, the biggest movie star in the country. Western movies, you know, just his performances, kind of his whole persona was kind of, you know, this over-the-top cowboy. He wanted a flashy guitar because, you know, he dressed flashy for the time. It was Depression era, but he was, you know, wearing custom suits with custom leather boots. He would tuck the pants into the boots so people could see them. So he wanted this guitar with his name on the fingerboard. I mean, he had owned Martins before, but, you know, he was aware of the Dreadnought and wanted this guitar in a style 45, and so Martin built it for him.
But let me tell a quick story about the artist model program that we have. So when I became CEO, I was under a lot of pressure. Chris, we have to have a more formal artist relations program. What does that mean? Well, I think it means that you have to give guitars away. I'm like, I don't know if my family ever gave guitars away. I mean, yes, for charity, but usually musicians went to a music store and bought them. And then we began a relationship with them. I thought, I don't know, there's got to be a better way. So I was going out to the NAMM show. And before I go to the NAMM show, I always stop and see my friend Matt McFadden. And I said, I want to go see Gene Autry's D45. Okay, where is it? It's at his museum in Griffith Park. And I thought, you know, I would love to make a reproduction of Gene Autry's D45. So I contacted the museum, got in touch with Joanne Hale. She was running the museum at that point. I said, you know, I had this idea. I would like to make a reproduction of Gene's D45. A week or so later, she calls back. She goes, yeah, I talked to Gene. Gene's older now. He remembers, you know, the relationship he had with your grandfather and the connection he made with Martin, and, you know, him actually wanting a larger kind of Jimmy Rogers guitar. And that's what inspired him to get a style 45. But he was aware of the dreadnought, the big 12-fret dreadnought, and so he decided to go in that direction. And she said, but Gene's old. He would like you to have a conversation with Mrs. Autry. Okay. So Joanne gave me Mrs. Autry's number. I called. We reminisced a while. She said, oh, Gene, loves Martin guitars. So proud of the relationship that he had with your grandfather and the company through, I think, Chicago music. Oh, and by the way, Gene loves the idea of making a reproduction of his guitar, donating one to the museum, selling the rest of them, and donating part of the proceeds to the museum. And that became really the prototype for the artist model program that we still do today. This is the last one. It came two ways. You could get the little Gene Autry signature here with the very traditional, what we call the snowflake fingerboard. Or if you wanted to, you could get the big Gene Autry in the fingerboard. I think I actually bought the fingerboard, and I have that in case, well, not that I would ever take this apart, put it back together. So this is mine, part of the collection. The company has one. Amazingly enough, we continue to find small caches of Brazilian rosewood. Yes, Brazilian rosewood is a fantastic tone wood, particularly for flat-top steel string acoustic guitars that say Martin on the headstock, right?
Brazilian rosewood, basically there was an embargo starting back in like 1967, 68, and then it went on the CITES list in 1992, which means from that point on you had to prove that the wood was harvested before it went on the CITES list. That's part of the paperwork I have to check through, but the reason Brazilian rosewood is Brazilian rosewood, the king of all woods, is just when you turn it into a guitar, it gives you this chest thud when you hit a bass note, and it gives you great mids and excellent highs. It is that boom, boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom you want when you're whether you're doing blues or bluegrass or something, and the notes are clear on the high end.
And I thought, you know what? Rather than just hoard this Brazilian rosewood and pass it all on to the next generation, we should commemorate that golden era and make 91 as authentic reproductions of each individual D45 that we made starting in 1933 with a custom order for Gene Autry. So this is really exciting for me. The first time I've seen it kind of, in passing, but to see it in real life, very cool. But because it was based on the original 12-fret, wide fingerboard, not much of a radius on the fingerboard, slot head. We realized that what people really wanted was a solid head with the kind of tuners that you would install on a solid headstock. And so the second one, even though it's 12 fret, it's got a more modern neck in terms of its shape, its width, and it's got the solid headstock. So this is the second one. The second one was made for a young musician named Jackie Kid Moore. He was like 14 when he ordered this. God bless him. second one. And then the third and fourth are more modern in that now they've got a 14 fret neck, square shoulders, solid headstock, narrower radius on the fingerboard. They were wide bodies. Why? What was wrong with, although if we're transitioning from 12 to 14 fret, maybe there was a feeling that the body needed to be even wider. We made two like this.
Why would somebody spend the amount of money it takes to purchase one of the Project 91s? Well, it's only going to happen once. You know, the first time period was close to 100 years ago. So people who bought in there really had something. Of course, most of those people are long gone, but the guitars still survive. And you could be part of this history. You have a unique serial number attached to its predecessor. You know, when you register your guitar, you're going to get this beautiful, it's just, you know, it's going to be a framed poster, and you're going to see the reference guitar listed in that and how it connects to your guitar. So you're going to be tied to the Martin history at that point.
For the lucky people that are going to get to own one of these guitars, and when we look at our records, they might find something that's significant to them, whether a guitar was started on a birthday, an anniversary, something like that. So there's all this information that we have available that when people look at these guitars, they might be able to see, oh, you know, they can connect with a specific serial number for a certain reason. And then obviously, you know, people want guitars from a specific year, so they might be attracted to, you know, they want a D45 that was built in 1937 or 1938 or whatever. They want one of those guitars, so they'll be able to tell based off of our production now, you know, what year that is based on. Or, I mean, somebody might want the same guitar that's in our museum. They got a chance to play it before and blown away by it, and now might be their chance to own something very similar.